Welcome to the West Ham Boys. Thank you for joining me. My apologies for not being on for a last couple of days. The day at Ipswich, the last game of the season, I got to be honest, took it out of me. We got there really early. We left there really late, but it was a good day overall. So I'm not complaining. Anything that happened to me was self-inflicted. Of course, the season's now over. And we can talk about the game against Ipswich, but I did that in the post game review that I did with Wiggy and the others. So let the finish is now the game. The season's now gone. Let's focus on what's happening next, and of course, what's happening next with the summer transfer window opening in a couple of days' time is, of course, all the rumors and all the stories on transfers. You know what I feel about transfers. It's not worth talking about them until the transfer window is upon us. And it is. A couple of days' time, it will be. So I'm going to focus on transfers that relate to loan signings and potential free agents, free signing. Well, they're not free signings, aren't they? Are they? Because when a player is out of contract, if we want to get him, we've got to give him a signing on fee. So they're not free signings, free agents. And the reason why I'm going to focus on loan signings and free agents is because for the past month or so, we've been told almost on a daily basis that West Ham have got no money, because of PSR and FFP and all that sort of stuff. We've got to sell players in order to buy players. However, there is another way to acquire players without having to pay millions of pounds for them in the transfer market. And as I've just said, that's, of course, looking at players who are out of contract and players in the loan market as well. Now, if you're new to this channel, first time you're watching the West Ham Voice, please do consider becoming a subscriber of the channel. Costs nothing to subscribe. All the content is free. And if you enjoy the video, at the end of this video, please do hit the like button because it helps the channel on YouTube, algorithms and all that sort of stuff. So if we go for players on a free, does that mean we're going to get players who are not really worth having? Well, not quite. When you look at the list of players available who are free agents, there are some really decent players out there this coming summer. We know all too well that striker Jonathan David is much in demand, and just about every club in Europe is trying to sign him. Of course, we are trying or have tried, but I don't think I doubt very much he's coming to West Ham. And then you've got other players. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting we're going out for them, but you've got other players just to demonstrate the quality of players that are free agents. You've got Bayern Munich's Leroy Sané, who was also at Man City before he was at Bayern Munich. You've got Leverkusen centre-back Jonathan Tah, another player that we've been linked to in the past. There's, of course, Kevin De Bruyne. He's also going to be available. And despite his age, I'm sure a number of teams, a number of clubs around Europe would relish the chance to sign him for a season or two. But look, it's highly unlikely that any of these players would be attracted to sign for West Ham. But would any free agents be interested? Well, there are one or two names that I'm going to look at in a moment. But let's first focus on a player that's known to Graham Potter and Carl McCauley, and a player that we could be looking at potentially bringing to West Ham on loan. Now, 21-year-old Omari Hutchinson, at the time when he was at Chelsea, he just moved to Chelsea from Arsenal's academy just before Graham Potter signed to take over at the West London club. But the young player didn't make his senior debut at the club under Potter. Instead, Potter sent the player out on loan to Ipswich. It was meant to be a season-long loan. But by the time Hutchinson had completed his loan spell, Potter had already gone from Chelsea. So we're never really going to know whether Potter had any intention to use the young player in the senior squad at Chelsea. Now, with a player still having 4 years remaining on his contract at Ipswich and a price tag of something like 25 million, it would be very difficult for Potter. Apparently, we're interested in the player, but it would be very difficult for Potter to convince the West Ham hierarchy that Hutchinson would be worth paying that price for, especially after the season's return that he's had. Just 3 goals and 2 assists. But the left-footed player is young. He's got pace and he can play either side of the pitch, either on the right or the left, or he can play as an attacking midfielder. Perhaps with a better team around him, he might succeed. Who knows? He's a player that West Ham might make a bid for in terms of signing him on loan, with maybe an obligation or an option to buy. Now, that would certainly alleviate the risk of having to pay £25 million outright for him. But Ipswich might have other ideas. They may want to keep the under-21 international to have him help Ipswich bounce straight back into the Premier League. In the season that Hutchinson played in the 23-24 season for Ipswich in the Championship, he had a return of 10 goals and 6 assists. Or Ipswich might want to cash in on the player in order to get money to help them rebuild the squad. So it's going to be an interesting one to see whether Ipswich would allow the player to go on loan or whether they want to keep him or sell him outright. Other players. Now, there's Tyrick Mitchell, the left back from Crystal Palace. At 25, he would indeed be a player worth considering, especially given that we're almost definitely looking for a left back this coming summer. However, it's been suggested that teams like Spurs, Arsenal, maybe even Liverpool are chasing the player. And with Champions League on the table, it'd be tempting for Mitchell to go to a club like that rather than West Ham. Now, furthermore, there's been a suggestion that Mitchell has already signed an extended contract with Crystal Palace, so he may not be available after all. Now, there is also a suggestion that we're interested in Leeds United left back Junior Firpo. Again, another player who's out of contract this coming summer. Now, we were apparently interested in Firpo a couple of years back when he was still at Barcelona. He's an interesting player, but apparently he was seen at the last home game of Real Betis, sparking suggestions that he may want to return to Spain. But Leeds United have apparently offered him a new contract now that they've been promoted back to the Premier League. Now, West Ham could approach the player and offer him an alternative Premier League club to play for. Plus, they'd probably be able to offer decent wages as well. He's 27 years of age, Firpo. Let's see if anything materialises from that. Another fullback that we've been linked to, who's still on West Ham's radar, is indeed Kyle Walker-Peters, who will be leaving relegated Southampton this summer. Now, there are a whole host of teams apparently interested in signing the versatile fullback. There's teams like Everton, Fulham, and Leeds who have just been promoted. Plus, apparently, his old club Spurs might also be in the running. Walker-Peters has got many similar traits to that of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and to have them both in the side with their versatility can give West Ham maybe a unique edge. So let's see if that one materialises at all. And that, of course, when you talk about Southampton, links us to their goalie, Aaron Ramsdale. Now, there were suggestions over the past few days that instead of signing Ramsdale on a big fee, we may approach Southampton to see if they would be interested in a season-long loan deal with either an option or obligation to buy at the end of it. Now, there aren't that many fans in favour of getting Ramsdale, and will point to the fact that they've had one of the worst defensive records ever in the Premier League, conceded 86 goals in the season that's just finished. And there's no denying that their defence has been bad. But if that's the case, would we really be chasing Ramsdale, Walker-Peters, and as well as centre-back Taylor Harwood-Bellis? They've all been complicit to those 86 goals being conceded. But going back to freebies and loans, a loan offer for Ramsdale might certainly be worth a shot. We did this when we brought Alphonse Areola to the club, and it would certainly give Ramsdale the opportunity to challenge Areola for the goalie slot, the starting lineup, as well as demonstrating that perhaps with a better defence in front of him, he would be a better keeper than we think. Now, let's be honest, our defence hasn't been that great this season, but given that we're looking to strengthen, maybe Ramsdale might be worth a shot. Wasn't it that long ago when fans thought Ramsdale was good enough to be our England number one? Now, over the last few days, it's been suggested that Aston Villa might also be preparing for life without Emi Martinez, and it's been suggested that they too could be targeting Ramsdale this coming summer. But Aston Villa have got even bigger PSR problems than we have, and they definitely will have to sell in order to buy any players. Now, there are other keepers available who are finishing their contracts this summer. First one is Napoli's Alex Merritt, another keeper who's out of contract this summer. He's also an Italian international. There have been suggestions that Napoli are struggling to get the goalie to sign a new deal, and apparently Man United and Inter Milan are lurking in the wings. He made 35 appearances for the Italian club, of which 34 were in the league, 18 clean sheets, of which 17 were in that league, and he helped them win the Serie A title. He's a superb keeper, 28 years of age, certainly a goalie for the here and now, as well as the long term. Another goalie that's available on a free transfer is Argentine international keeper Walter Benitez, whose contract ends with PSV this summer. The 32-year-old keeper is rumored to be bound to go to Atletico Madrid, but another decent keeper West Ham could target with, again, Premier League wages. And just one other defensive player to talk about for now is, of course, CJ Egan Riley, the 22-year-old centre-back. He's had a sterling season with Burnley, helping them to win promotion back into the Premier League. However, despite West Ham's interest, there have been some conflicting reports as to where Egan Riley might be playing his football next season. In one story, it was agreed that he signed a 5-year deal with FC Strasbourg. And in another story, apparently he signed a deal with Chelsea. Now, Strasbourg are a sister club to Chelsea, and the London club may see this as this signing for Strasbourg as a sort of a backdoor route into Chelsea in time to come. So I don't know if he's actually signed for Strasbourg or Chelsea or neither, and whether he's available or not. Apparently, West Ham still hold an interest in that player as well. Now, moving further up front, when it comes to attacking players, Jiai Puardo, the Espanyol left winger, can also play as a striker, is certainly one to look out for. At 27 years of age, he would be at his prime, although maybe not necessarily at the age, ironically, that Potter may want at the club. Given that Potter is talking about bringing the average age of the squad down, maybe he's looking for younger players than even 27. Look, he's had a decent season in Spain, 12 goals, 4 assists in 35 appearances, which is certainly not bad. He was destined, apparently, to leave Espanyol, but suggestions on Tuesday are saying that he may have signed a new deal to stay at the club. Again, though, another player who might relish the opportunity to play in the Premier League if the financial package was attractive enough. Now, as for more players on loan, there's an awful lot of talk about Potter and Macaulay raiding their old club Chelsea for the likes of midfielder Kieran Dewsbury-Hall and defender Trevor Shabola. Now, although having made 30 appearances this season, 26-year-old Dewsbury-Hall only made 2 starts in the Premier League for the Chelsea. Most of his game time has been in cup competitions, including the Europa Conference League. It's going to be interesting to see if he's going to start in the final. He's still got 4 years remaining on his contract at Chelsea and will probably relish getting more Premier League game time, of which West Ham United would undoubtedly be able to offer him. A season-long loan with, again, an option or obligation to buy, that could be a possibility. And then Trevor Shabola, yet again, another player that we were rumoured to be in for, even as recently as last January. The 25-year-old centre-back went on loan to Crystal Palace in the first half of the 24-25 season, although he was called back into the Chelsea team because of injury crisis in January. He then went on to become a regular in the starting lineup until the last couple of games of the season. He's valued at something like £20 million, and if Chelsea are looking to move him on, they might prefer to sell him rather than loan him out, but perhaps a loan with an obligation to buy could tempt them to let him go. Look, with all these free players and loan signings, one wonders how West Ham could even pay for all the loan fees and the player and the player signing on fees. Well, let's not worry about that, because let's not forget, from the 1st of July, West Ham will be saving circa £25 million a year coming off the wage bill, with all the players out of contract who are leaving the club. And this could rise to almost £30 million in a year if Antonio leaves as well. So there will indeed be money available to sign players either on loan or as free agents signing on fees, and also to pay their wages. And that's even before we start thinking about selling players in order to buy others. There's plenty of choices there. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting for a minute that we're going to go out for every one of those players, but it was just a it's just a taster to show you how many decent players are actually available out there on free transfers, and how many are available on a potential loan deal. Thank you for watching and listening. Like I said, if you've enjoyed the show, please do hit the like button. Please consider becoming a subscriber and leave your comments below the video. I'll see you all very soon.